Most Americans recognize the name George Armstrong Custer, often associating him with his dramatic end at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. However, Custer led a colorful life well before that infamous encounter, with notable service in both the Civil War and later across the western frontier. But who exactly was Custer beyond the legends? What made him stand out? How was he viewed by those who knew or opposed him? And did his military actions truly hold significance? Before we dive in, remember to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with new releases here on Empire History Central. George Armstrong Custer entered the world in New Bromley, Ohio, on December 5, 1839, into an expansive extended family. In his youth, he relocated to Michigan to live with an older half-sister and her husband. He performed well in school and even worked as a schoolteacher for about a year. Though raised in a middle-class home without high-level connections and with a rowdy reputation, Custer managed to secure a nomination to attend West Point at age 18. Enrolling in 1857, Custer was academically gifted, skilled in geography, Latin, Greek, and horsemanship. But he was notoriously undisciplined. Constant infractions nearly led to his dismissal. In 4 years, he amassed 726 demerits, nearing a record, and finished dead last in his class. The last-ranking graduate was nicknamed the GOAT, or greatest of all time, albeit ironically. Normally, such poor performance would have doomed any future Army career, but with the Civil War erupting, the Army needed officers fast. Custer, commissioned as a second lieutenant, was sent to Washington, D.C., a prime spot to forge key connections. His first combat was at the First Battle of Bull Run in July 1861. While many saw his tactics as reckless, they caught the attention of General George McClellan, who added him to his staff. Custer began gaining attention during the Peninsula Campaign in spring 1862, where he built a growing reputation for daring, sometimes reckless, leadership. He often seized opportunities others avoided, relying on instinct rather than calculation. While many around him were wounded or killed, Custer rarely suffered serious harm, a phenomenon dubbed Custer's luck. He was also a master of self-promotion, eagerly posing for photographs and engaging reporters eager to publicize his exploits. Harper's Weekly even assigned a full-time journalist to follow him, ensuring his actions, real or exaggerated, remained in print. Whether or not he saw action, Custer was a go-to source for war stories. Senior Union leaders appreciated his success and valor. Custer always led from the front, facing the same danger as his men, even when outnumbered, which earned him respect and frustration in equal measure. He married Elizabeth Libby Bacon, a childhood acquaintance, in December 1862 while on leave, despite resistance from her wealthy and well-connected family. Libby's background in business led Custer to consider leaving the military post-war for financial opportunities, as he was always driven by money. General Philip Sheridan recommended Custer to General Ulysses S. Grant for a command. In 1863, Custer was promoted to brigadier general at just 23. Leapfrogging more senior officers and taking charge of the Michigan Cavalry Brigade. Around this time, Custer began donning a striking, customized uniform that turned heads. At the Battle of Gettysburg, his cavalry successfully blocked Confederate General Jeb Stuart's forces from attacking Union flanks, capturing hundreds of retreating rebels afterward. The victory came at a heavy cost. Custer's brigade suffered nearly 300 casualties, the highest among Union cavalry. Still, his leadership style, charging into danger with his men rather than sending them alone, may have spared him from being removed. As the war went on, Custer continued to win, but his units frequently took the highest losses, sometimes losing up to 40% of their forces in battle. His daring and flaws were both well known in Washington. Despite his rise, Custer gambled heavily, had multiple affairs, and was rumored to have seduced the wives and widows of fellow officers. Libby often stayed close, a rare move at the time, perhaps to watch over him. The couple exchanged many letters when apart, much of which still exists today. Sheridan still considered Custer a dependable cavalry leader, and he participated in the 1864 Shenandoah Valley Campaign, earning the cover spot on Harper's Weekly. Later, his unit joined the fight at Petersburg and was part of the action at Appomattox. There, he led a daring cavalry charge just before the war's end, which earned him a brevet promotion to Major General and national fame. He was present when General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Grant, with Libby also attending. Sheridan gifted Libby the table used for the surrender documents. After the war, Custer was a household name, his battlefield feats often exaggerated, with some saying divine forces protected him. Though tempted to pursue a business career, Custer stayed in uniform and was offered command of the newly formed 7th Cavalry. His brevet rank was removed and he returned to his regular Army rank of lieutenant colonel. He met his new troops in Kansas in 1866, soldiers well aware of his fame and reputation for high casualties. By 1867, Custer was fighting in campaigns against the Sioux and Cheyenne. Standard practice meant smaller units conducted patrols to monitor settlers and track native movement. Sometimes Custer went along, other times he didn't. When several men were killed in his absence, some blamed him for abandoning them, a charge not entirely unfounded. Custer was court-martialed for desertion and abandoning his command, as he had been spending time with Libby. Found guilty, he was stripped of pay and command for a year and returned to Michigan. Sheridan urged the War Department to restore him to service, and they relented. Hoping to rebuild his reputation, Custer led an attack in 1868 on a Cheyenne village along the Wachita River in what is now Oklahoma. He reported high enemy casualties, which couldn't be verified but did bring temporary peace to the area. The success was publicized, reviving Custer's fame. But the Cheyenne, who called him Yellow Hair, were not the only ones taking note.
Gold was discovered in Deadwood Gulch, South Dakota, in 1875, prompting a flood of prospectors into land protected under the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. The Sioux were ordered by President Grant to vacate the area by January 1876. Knowing the harsh winter made compliance impossible, the War Department treated it as defiance and initiated military action. Tensions escalated as Custer had previously led troops to protect miners violating Sioux lands, and in Washington he faced a hearing over it. During his testimony, Custer refused to take the fall, pointing fingers at Grant administration officials for enabling the violations. He named high-level officials, including Secretaries of State, War, Treasury, and Interior, as complicit in undermining treaties and native rights. He also exposed corruption involving frontier supply monopolies run by Secretary of War Belknap and President Grant's brother Orville. Further scandal involved Indian Bureau agents stealing native provisions and reselling them at inflated prices. Custer leaked all of this to the press, drawing intense backlash. He became a scapegoat for the government's broken promises and land grabs. President Grant, furious, had Custer arrested and removed from command. It took intervention from top generals, Sherman, Sheridan, Hancock, and Crook, to secure his release. They knew Custer had told the truth, and political pressure forced Grant to reinstate him. By May, the U.S. had declared open conflict, prompting previously divided tribes, Sioux, Cheyenne, Arapaho, to unite in resistance. Sitting Bull organized a massive tribal meeting attended by leaders like Crazy Horse, Red Cloud, and Dull Knife. An estimated 6,000 to 10,000 native people gathered along the Little Bighorn River. On June 25th, only 5 Arapaho arrived, and though initially distrusted and disarmed, they were spared after Chief Two Moon vouched for them, according to Left Hand, who was interviewed in 1900. Custer decided to strike the large encampment with the element of surprise. He split his 210 men into 3 columns to assault from both flanks and head on. The result was catastrophic. Custer and his men were killed. Some suspected his subordinates, Major Marcus Reno and Captain Frederick Benteen, who disliked Custer and may have held grudges, failed to support him intentionally. The bodies were found days later, including his brother, Captain Thomas Custer, a double Medal of Honor recipient. George Custer, aged 36, had 2 fatal bullet wounds, but wasn't scalped, his long blonde hair untouched. Only a Comanche scout survived. The battle lasted nearly 2 hours, and soldiers were overwhelmed by warriors wielding advanced repeating rifles. The shocking loss fueled widespread prejudice and provoked a harsher federal stance toward all tribes. It also sparked more aggressive westward military expansion, igniting decades of additional conflict. Libby Custer spent the rest of her life preserving her husband's legacy through best-selling,
gaining fame and fortune until her death in 1933. Custer remains one of the most controversial figures in American history, both revered and reviled. Whatever your view, he was undoubtedly courageous and always willing to face death head-on. The man the Cheyenne called Yellow Hair in the end kept his trademark locks, gaining fame and fortune until her death in 1933. Custer remains one of the most controversial figures in American history, both revered and reviled. Whatever your view, he was undoubtedly courageous and always willing to face death head-on. Thank you for watching Empire History Central. Please like and subscribe to our channel to engage in more history discoveries like this. Until next time.